Detroit City Sportscast. Garret here in Warren on one side of Metro Detroit. Adam with me on the other side of Metro Detroit, Plymouth. Adam, how are you doing today as we're witnessing a painful second inning here in Pittsburgh right now with the Tigers game going on?
I'm good. Did you catch the eclipse today?
I didn't look at it directly on, like many people at work went to our back parking lot where it seemed to be having. I went out towards the front and felt that in like chilliness that seems to hit when the sky turns completely dark at 3:15 in the afternoon, as opposed to like 7, 8 o'clock on one of these spring nights. So, but yeah, it was good and it was interesting. I saw a stat. My coworker was showing me. Apparently, OBJ in 2017 videoed himself staring directly at the eclipse from like his window or whatever display, and you could see like his before 2017, before eclipse and post eclipse numbers, and you're like, is this a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. But Wild Times, and Wild Times also covers our opening period, our opening subject for tonight's Detroit City Sportscast, our Detroit Red Wings. When we last recorded on April Fool's Day, the Wings were going into what was maybe the first of two season-defining weeks, a game in Tampa Bay that night, a few days off before hosting the Rangers on Friday night, April 5th, and then yesterday, 1 p.m. tilt against the Buffalo Sabres. The Wings started off the week with it was an even hockey game, kind of entertaining hockey game back and forth. 2 goals in the third period sees the Red Wings get the 4-2 win in Tampa, 3-0 against the Lightning this year, which is, I can't think of the last time that's happened in a regular season. Friday night took on the Metropolitan leading New York Rangers, and if I'm not mistaken, still the Eastern Conference leading New York Rangers. Another back and forth game. The Wings took the lead at 1.32, but quickly gave it up. Gave in one more, a tough 4-3 game, 4-3 defeat, although, I didn't have any issues really with the performance in that one. And then yesterday afternoon on TNT, Lucas Raymond, within the first 30 seconds, unassisted, 2 more goals by the Wings in the first period. Patrick Kane, little breakaway, creates an opportunity, and then Dylan Larkin on a quick little movement on the power play. Tage Thompson pulled one back for the Sabres in the first period, but that was all that was needed. In which the Wings battened down the hatches and defended. Strong performance by Alex Lyon, 3-1 winners. For a last place spot that going into the weekend, it seemed like nobody really wants. Because since last week, it's the New York Islanders' turn to go on a hot run. Winners of their last 4. They've now taken the automatic spot in the Metropolitan Division with 85 points. The Red Wings have held on to the last spot as of right now, 84 points, 1 point ahead of Pittsburgh, who are playing Toronto tonight, 1 point against Capitals, who the Wings play tomorrow, and who the Capitals lost to the Ottawa Senators yesterday. 1 point ahead of the Flyers, who have played one more game, are lost 7 in a row, and you could say it was maybe you could start in the weekend up, and then 5 points ahead of both the Buffalo Sabres and the New Jersey Devils. While not completely eliminated by either team, it's going to be they need to not lose basically another game, either of those teams. So going into this, before we talk about what's going ahead into the week, Adam, how did you feel about these 3 games that we just witnessed? Monday in Tampa, Friday at home to the Rangers, and then yesterday versus the Sabres.
I think that, the series that they've had against the Lightning, I think that alone just shows that this is a different team than
Right.
what we've seen in years past. Them going out and being able to um, sweep the season series with the Lightning is I mean, it's great to see.
Right.
Um, Considering where the Lightning have been in the Eastern Conference, in large part because of Steve Yzerman, ironically enough.
Right.
Uh, as far as so, I mean, obviously that was great. It was much needed considering what they were coming off of, you know, going into that game. They were on another one of those streaks, on another one of those losing streaks when they ended up getting that much needed win in Tampa Bay too. It's not like you're playing at home; you're in Tampa Bay, coming off of a tough game against the Panthers, in which they were lucky to get a point in that game, but then obviously they had that rough stretch against the Panthers. Managed a point against the Capitals. It was kind of like that whole stretch that we were talking about, that one recording that we did,
Right.
what they needed to do, and they really didn't do it. However, at this point right now, they still control their own destiny because of what other teams haven't been able to do um, during that stretch as well. As far as the Rangers game goes, I'm with you on that one. I'm not disappointed in the way that they've played, considering who they were going up against. They're
Right.
going up against arguably the best team in all of hockey. I
8-2 in their last 10, winners of their last three, almost, their top two or three, I think, in the league in goals scored. Artemi Panarin having a wonderful year. Shout out to the bread man. He was great for my fantasy points league this year. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, they're tough. They're
yeah,
a pain in
and
the ass team to play.
but I mean, in the Rangers, I mean, that just goes to show what you still need to do. You need to play almost perfect hockey against a team like the Rangers, which the
Right.
Wings aren't prepared to do just yet. You can't take dumb penalties against them, which they did. You can't be careless with the puck, which they were, especially in that last period. Um, and the Rangers made them pay. So, but again, I mean, shit like that happens when you are a team like Detroit at this point in the rebuild for them.
Yeah.
The Sabres, you did exactly what you needed to do. It was awesome to see a sense of urgency out of the team, coming home, playing that matinee in a must-win game against a team that you should be able to beat. They did that, and they put themselves in another good position where they control their own destiny because, again, Washington doesn't seem like they want that final playoff spot. You have the Flyers still, uh, just completely uh, imploding at the right time if you're, a Red Wings fan. Um, and as it stands right now, they've got the biggest game of the season coming up tomorrow. And then after that, they will have the biggest game of the season against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, um,
Yeah. It's these are the moments where iron sharpens iron. And I have a couple of people in my mind from this last week that have kind of stood out to me for this 2-1 week that we had. Alex Lyon, I think, in particular, had a great
yeah,
one. David Perron had some good moments in each of those great games. Dylan Larkin, of course.
David
Um,
Perron also cost us too against the Rangers, but
right. Um,
but no,
more
I agree. I agree.
Moritz Sider, and who else? Is there any others in your mind that I'm not mentioning? I feel like obviously Lucas Raymond, we need to get him wrapped up as soon as possible.
No, I was just going to say Lucas Raymond. Guy's having a career year. He is turning himself into the player that I think Red Wings fans all knew that, you know, he could eventually become what he could eventually become.
Right.
Mort Sider is quietly he's doing all of the quiet things.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like like a good offensive lineman in football who doesn't get the praise that they deserve because they do all the stuff that almost goes unnoticed.
Your
Um,
defensive midfielder and soccer type guy that
exactly.
allows other people to shine.
Yeah. Mort Sider, with him, I saw a stat the other day, like the amount of blocked shots that he's had this season. It's been incredible. He is one of those guys. Yeah, he's not doing a bunch of flashy stuff, but he is turning into, just such a reliable defensive presence on that blue line, which again, given where this team is and what we've had to deal with this season as far as the defense goes, Mort Sider, especially given his age as well,
Right.
is a huge plus for this team. Alex Lyon, I completely agree with you on that one too. The Red Wings need to start him in every single game from here on out.
Yep.
I don't want to see any of James Reimer in any of these remaining games.
Ville Husso announced today by the Wings going to Grand Rapids for a conditioning stint. So, provided I hope it's just a 1-game stint, because if that's the case, then provided we do the work, maybe we get a Lyon Husso playoff pairing at the expense of James Reimer. I'm also a dreamer, so that might be too much to ask at this point.
Yeah, and you just never know. I mean, right now you just don't know what you're going to get with Ville Husso, given the time he's missed.
Right.
Is he going to get injured again? I mean, the Wings. I mean, and this is the thing with Detroit right now is that obviously they're not a perfect team. They're a flawed team. So you got to take what you can ultimately get. You're not going to go out and get some just brick wall out there who you can go and depend on night in and night out. You're going to get Alex Lyon, who is a solid guy for what he is. Is he a guy that is going to be able to start, the majority of games for you this season or any season? No, he's not. The Wings have gotten very, very lucky with him this year, but that's all you can ask for at this point. It doesn't matter. We're in April. We're in the beginning of April. Playoffs are on the line. You take what you can get. One other guy too, Simone Edmondson.
Yep. Relishing this opportunity, it seems like.
Relishing this opportunity, and he's up now. There's no way that they send Simone Edmondson back down, or he is, and he is. This has also been his training camp in a sense, because there's no way going into next year, going into next season, that he's going to be sent back to Grand Rapids even then. Simone Edmondson has made this team, and he has been a huge difference maker for them as well. And again, I think we've mentioned it in the past that one of the bigger concerns with this team is what is Yzerman going to be able to do to get rid of some of those contracts on the blue line.
Right.
And he's not going to be able to get rid of them all. Justin Holl, Jeff Petrie, who's probably going to end up staying here, Sherratt, Mata. Again, big goal this offseason is to get rid of some of those contracts on the blue line. So yeah, I mean it's been a stretch where they haven't been, great by any means. But given what some of the other teams are doing, the Capitals of the world, New Jersey, Philadelphia, teams like that are just completely playing themselves out of the playoffs. And the Red Wings, who, like I just said, aren't playing great, are the benefactors of that.
So tomorrow, the Capitals. Last time Capitals came to LCA was on a back-to-back, where they played Ottawa the night before. They won 6-3, but then 8-3 Red Wings. That was a fun game that for me to personally enjoy being there. Unfortunately, that was also our last win at that point for 2 weeks. almost, and Capitals have a day off after their loss on Sunday to the Sens, and then Pittsburgh on Thursday, a team that can't. They've seen to do this, I think, in years that they've won cups before. Earlier in the year, they've been out of it, and those 2 years in particular, twice where they made a coaching change in the middle of the season and then won the Stanley Cup. Rolling with Mike Sullivan, but they've won their last 4. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10. They traded Jake Gensel, but seem to be rolling well with Michael Bunting. And then the Maple Leafs on the road on Saturday, who, who with 2 games in hand on the Panthers, have a potential shot of maybe taking the second seed in the Atlantic, which means they're home in that first round, which is right now looking like it'd be Panthers Leafs in that first round series. And then we obviously have 2 games left next week, the home and home versus Montreal. So I'm going to ask this question based off of what we've seen last week and what we have this week. Will we have our playoff, what we know if we're in the playoffs or not? Will that be decided by the end of this week? And if so, what's it going to be?
I don't think it will. The East is way too tight right now, and as much as Detroit fans don't want to hear it, you got to give a shout out to Sidney Crosby with the Penguins since the beginning of April.
And Malkin and even fucking Nedeljkovic, who an old goalie of ours.
Yeah. Crosby since the beginning of April has 5 goals and an assist, which is,
we've played 8 days. We've had 8 days in April.
Yeah, which is incredible. Malkin has again been just about as good, 4 goals, 2 assists since the beginning of the month. So obviously those, and the thing with Pittsburgh right now is it's none of this.
Brian Russ too has had a great year for them as well. Somebody that we were linked with at the deadline.
Yeah, and the thing with Pittsburgh, this is kind of like their last hurrah. They are a team that is going to have to rebuild here probably this offseason. There's going to be some questions as far as what direction Pittsburgh wants to go and everything. And what they should do is they should tear down because Malkin, Crosby, 2 guys who
Letang too.
for the most, Letang, who are for the most part in the twilight of their careers. And as Red Wings fans, we know what that is like. We know what that's like when your superstar players are nearing the end. But you just got to give a shout out because it just goes to show the greatness that is Sidney Crosby, Malkin, and what they're able to do still at this point right now.
I'll give Mike Sullivan credit too because he's up there with Cooper. I think as the longest 2, if not the top 2 of the longest tenured coaches in the National Hockey League. And in the Stanley Cup era, for them to win 3 cups, I think is I'm pissed off one of them was against us, but you give respect to teams that have earned it, and I think they've showed that.
Yeah. But as far as this final stretch of games, I don't think anything is going to be settled by the end of the week. Just because it's the East is way too close right now.
Right.
It's way too close. Red Wings need to take care of business. They need to go in. They need to beat Washington tomorrow night. They need to beat Pittsburgh after that. And we've got a pivotal game tonight between the Pittsburgh and the Maple Leafs. That one's currently 0-0, 4:08 left in the first period there. Red Wings fans, we need Toronto to win that game.
Feels so fucking dirty, but you're right.
Yeah, I mean, no points whatsoever Pittsburgh can take. Because we need to, if anything is going to be settled by the end of the week, it starts tonight with that game.
Right.
Pittsburgh needs to lose. They need to lose in regulation. But if they don't, whatever, we
We got to
still
do the
control
job.
our own destiny. We still control our own destiny. We still have we still need we win our games, we're in the playoffs. It's as simple as that. So
I think we beat Washington. Um, I don't think it's going to be 8-3 like it was at LCA at the end of February. Pittsburgh could go either way. Um, we thought they were done a few weeks ago. They've, once again defied time. They don't seem to want to be. I feel like if it's not going to be Washington, it's going to be Pittsburgh. We're going to have to potentially battle, unless Pittsburgh takes the third Metro spot, and then we have to worry about the Islanders. Which I'd rather the Islanders keep that third spot in the Metro because I think they are likely to keep their form going. They've been,
yeah,
they've shown to be not the Islanders teams of those Barry Trotz days that were just grind them out games, but a team that is willing to, they got good offensive production from Barzell. They got Brock Nelson bagging goals. Noah Dobson's bagging points consistently from defense. It's and good goaltending. So, but yeah, Washington win. Pittsburgh, I hope to get a win. Even a point I'll take. Toronto's a toss-up. I mean, Matthews has 64 goals this year. So it's just it's going to be a wild thing. I do want to make one note on the league real quick because I'm just taking a look at the offensive production this year in the league-wide. And it's good. I think we've seen great goaltending, but we've also seen people. We've seen offensive production fly through the roof. To give you an idea, here, like your top, there are currently 8 people with 100 points in the league. 2 more about to get 100 by the end of the season. Nikita Kucherov has 136 points in 76 games played, 43 goals, 93 assists. Nate McKinnon has 133. Connor McDavid has 130 and 74. He's 1 assist away from 100 assists. Even more fucked up is the fact that he only had 13 points his first 14 games, which means he's almost averaging 2 points a game since then.
Because the Oilers got off to that horrendous start to the season.
Right. Artemi Panarin has 115 points. He's got a nice amount of assists. And if you don't know, go look at the stats and you'll see what I'm referencing. Pasternak's got 107 points. Leon Draisaitl with 102. Rantanen with 102. Austin Matthews, 64 goals in 75 games played. He might get 70, which I'm trying to think who the last person with 70 was. I know Ovi I don't think had 70 in 08. I think he had high 60s. It might have been McGillney. I don't remember. Or Bure. I don't know if Bure might have gotten 60. And then JT Miller with 97 and Nylander with 96. Sam Reinhart has a glimpse chance of maybe getting 60 goals for the Panthers. But what I mean is there's so much quality players, I think, in the league today. And it just shows that the gap between being an absolute stud, being a great player, and then being a role player I think the levels are becoming clearly defined once again. Closing thoughts on this one before we take a break and go to period 2.
No, it's just it's cool that we're here. It's cool that because again, as much as disappointing as for as disappointing as March was for this team, it's cool to be back in this position again. It's cool to be playing meaningful games in April. And rest assured, Red Wings fans, it's only going to continue to get better from here on out. The Red Wings are better than what they were last season. Next year's team is going to be better than what they were this year. Next year's the year. Next year is the year where you expect to make the playoffs. This was never the year for that. Next year is the year that we should expect to win. And not win the Stanley Cup, but go to the playoffs.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we'll know more about where we're at with this team. Definitely, I think by week's end, will it be written factoid? They have to play the games and get the results needed to do that, and we will go from there. So that's it for period 1 here. We're going to take a little bit of a break. Period 2, we're going to talk about the Detroit Tigers, and yeah, so we'll be right back. Garret here in Warren, Adam in Plymouth, and we've talked about the Red Wings and the week that they had. And their season is almost coming. Regular season's coming to a close. Now on to the team that the season has been underway, entering week 3. That is our Detroit Tigers. Adam rocking the 2018 enlarged D version. This me rocking my away I got in the offseason this year. Tigers baseball. Just recently have had their first home series done. So when we had recorded on the 1st with our dear friend Yowdy for kind of a season preview, they were going into their 3-game series versus the New York Mets after we're sweeping the White Sox in the first series. Monday was started off where we struggled to make any contact at all against Manea. However, team grinded, no score into the 10th inning, where the Tigers then scored 5, including a Carson Kelly 3-run ding. Tuesday, Wednesday were rainouts, which meant that Thursday was a doubleheader at, I always want to call it Shea, but I know it's Citi Field. And Casey Mize, with his first start in almost 2 years, goes 4 1/3. The Tigers grinding another. I know they were down 2-0. Was it 3-0 down at one point, or was it were they always just 2-1? Either way, they fought back, getting 3 in extra innings, winning 6-3 that game. Had a chance to go with another series sweep. Was 1-0 up in the Mets. No hitter going into the 8th. However, I don't know how Pete Alonso picked up that ball, which I thought was literally in the dirt, from Alex Faedo, and lifted that ball into the left center field stands. And also then winless Mets tied the game. Won it in extra innings for the Tigers' first loss. Next day, home opener in Detroit. A little bit chilly, but a good showing at Comerica Park. I didn't get the attendance numbers. Adam, you might have that. Tariq Skubal went into the 7th inning, but got pulled during the middle of the inning. Tigers jumped out to a 3-0 lead that game. A's cut it to 3-2. Tigers made it 4-2. A's tied it. Tigers won it late. However, a painful Saturday and Sunday. 4-0 loss with Kenta Maeda on the mound, and then yesterday a 7-1 loss. Couple innings, went 6 innings, but Tigers just couldn't get anything going with the bats. Oakland made also a couple great defensive plays. So, and that leads us into the game that's currently going on while we are recording. It is currently 5-2. The Tigers did just pull a run back. Reese Olson's on the mound. That one playing a Pirates team who I didn't realize upon looking at the stats today go in today 8-2. 59 runs scored in their first 10, 49 allowed, compared to what was at our time 29 runs scored and 28 allowed, which is the fourth fewest runs allowed in baseball, behind the Guardians, the Red Sox, who seem to really take aim at what Adam was saying about their preseason predictions and jumping out to a 7-3 start. And the Kansas City Royals, who are also 6-4 to start off. So, I suppose, Adam, then I'll ask the question: is we feeling so far, 9 games in, and maybe like the 3 losses have been 3 out of the last 4 with cold bats? Do you feel like there's concerns, or is it just like, it's a long season, this happens?
First, 44,711 for opening day at Comerica Park.
Well done, y'all. Well done.
And it's so, I hate under and overreacting, mostly overreacting to the Tigers when you are in early April still. There's no point in getting all crazy about what is happening either which way, whether they are playing really, really well or really, really bad. This is exactly what I thought the Tigers would be at this point in the season right now. They're a team who struggles to get runs across the plate, and they are a team who has decent pitching, a decent bullpen, and who play in a bad division. This is what I expected from them right now. They're a team, if they want to compete, look, you could have the best pitching staff in all of baseball. You can have a lights out starting rotation. You can have a lights out bullpen. If you don't score runs, as stupid as this sounds, because it sounds like something that Red would say,
or my buddy
451. Ray. If you don't score runs, you're not going to win the game. And the Tigers right now can't score runs, and it's not some anomaly or anything like that. It's not something that should be incredibly shocking to anybody. This is a team who last year couldn't score runs. It was a team who this offseason didn't really address that, and lo and behold, they're having trouble scoring runs again. They need a bat. They need somebody in that lineup who you can depend on to go out there and get you some RBIs. They don't have that right now. Spencer Torkelson is still still young in his career. You can't depend on him to do that, and he's not going to do that right now, as we've seen so far this season. You can't rely on Riley Green. You can't rely on Canna. You can't rely on Parker Meadows. You can't rely on Colt Keith. You sure as hell aren't going to rely on Javi Baez to do that. They need another bat in the lineup. It's as simple as that. And we're going to see where they're at later on this season, obviously. And whether or not Chris Ilitch is, because if they're right there, the thing that sucks about this is they don't have a bat now, and if these young hitters don't come around, then it's not going to matter what happens at the trade deadline. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself right now, and I said it's dumb to do this in a sense, but if these young hitters don't come around, this is why you want to do this in the off season, so you're not put in this position. If these young hitters don't come around come the trade deadline, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter who's available at the deadline for you because you're going to be out of it and you're not going to be buying anything in return. So you're resting all of this on Spencer Torkelson. You're resting all of this on Canna. You're resting all of this on Riley Green. And in some ways, you're hoping that Javi Baez comes around and is able to, you know, hit at least in the mid 200s. Um, so I mean, it's that's what was really frustrating. That's what's frustrating about things now is they had a problem last year, their biggest problem, and they didn't adequately address it. I don't know if it was Scott Harrison not doing it or if it's Chris Illich just being a complete and fucking total cheap ass. Um, but they need another bat in the lineup. They need somebody who you can depend on to get guys across the plate, and they just don't have it right now.
Yeah, and I meant to say Jack Flaherty earlier instead of John for yesterday's starter. I agree with you on that. And it was funny because actually just before we were hit the green light to go on segment 2, Javi Baez got a base hit. So hopefully he can keep that going on there. This week is it's an interesting, especially in the Central Division, because during the weekend, Shane Bieber of the Guardians announced having to have undergo Tommy John. So there's a potential there, you would think. But 2 games against NL, tied for best record in baseball right now, the Pittsburgh Pirates. So the game tonight and then the game tomorrow afternoon. You're off on Wednesday. And then you have an 8-game homestand. 4 against the Twins, Thursday through Sunday, and then 4 against the defending world champs in the Texas Rangers. So mindset going into that, I'm not trying to agree with you that these aren't season defining series completely just yet, but what do we want to see in particular from these? Well, let's go with the Pirates series and the Twins for this week because the Rangers one's going to be Monday through Thursday next week. What are the things we really need to see from this squad to kind of give us an idea of what this season might be?
Well, in the coming days, obviously, you want to see Maeda kind of get himself on track,
Right.
turn in a quality start, whether they win or whether they lose. You want to see Maeda get a quality start in there. You also want to start seeing some consistency from this order too. You want to see some of these bats start to come around because, like I said, since they didn't address it in the offseason, you're resting your season on the ability for some of these young players to come around and start producing some runs for you. You want to see Spencer Torkelson start to become, more consistent at the plate. Um, Colt Keith is a guy who you signed to a big time contract. You want to start to see him to have, get some good at bats. Riley Green, same thing. You want to start to see these young guys start to produce at the plate, or at least you want to start to see glimpses of that.
Good at bats.
Maybe they,
Yeah, I mean those things. Good contact. Like
yeah.
the fundamentals, which I think is,
Hmm.
people be like, "What the fuck you talking about fundamentals for baseball for?" When you're a young player, in this case, a young team, the fundamentals are the thing. You know,
Yeah,
um,
this is where this is where you can. I mean, if you're AJ Hinch, if you're the pitching coach, if you're Chris Fetter, if you're anybody on that coaching staff, these are the formidable years for those young players. You're not going to teach these guys how to be major league ball players when they're in their late 20s, early 30s. By then, it's over. It's now that these guys are going to start to becoming, they're going to start to be, coming into their own at some point. You want to see them start to show glimpses of what they can do to give this front office, to give AJ Hinch some some to get them to be comfortable of what they're doing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you just want to start to see some positive at bats. You want to see them start to put some runs across on the board. That's what you want to see. Um, if they win some games in the process, great. Especially that series against the Rangers, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of that one, especially at this point in the season. But that Twin series, yeah, you want to go in there and you want to try to win that series just because obviously they're a division rival. So
Right. 6 games this week. So this one that's today. Still 5-2 going into the top of the fifth. Olsen with his first run-free inning of this game so far. It looks like it. And then the Forward versus the Twins. What's a win total this week that you would feel really good about after about going in, and how many do you think we're actually going to get?
let me take a look here. So
My
obviously we
bad.
got two against the
Olsen had a scoreless first. It was 3 allowed in the second, and 3 allowed and 2 allowed in the third. So
yeah, I mean I would be okay. I would be okay if they split both of these series against the Twins and the Rangers. Um,
what about the Pirates one?
that's something that I can live with. I want to split on that one too.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to win. I would take a split against the Pirates. Um, the Twins, I would be okay with a split. Ultimately, you want to win that one. You want to take 3 of 4 in that one. And
Right.
then the Rangers, a split. I take a split there,
So
considering how good they are. And
yeah, I mean that's the thing. The Rangers are also going to be. I haven't seen who they all got this week. I watched a bit of their game yesterday on Sunday Night Baseball against the Astros. They had to deal with Ronel Blanco for part of that game, although Deering had a good start for them on the mound. I'm also eyeballing him as well because he was one of my draftees this year in my return to fantasy baseball. So I think if I want to see how we finish today up, even if we don't come back and get the win against the Buccos, if we can, make it interesting and get almost there, it shows that this is a sign that they don't want to quit. Mize tomorrow on the mound. I want him to get a quality start. So, one thing I'll note here, a roster moves. I mean, a couple of roster moves were made. Matt Manning was the 27th guy in the doubleheader yesterday, last week. I mean, so he pitched game 2 on Thursday. Looked pretty good for the most part on there. He's back in Toledo. Move by the club made today. Andy Ibanez on the 10-day disabled list with a left hamstring strain, which meant Vencel Perez from Toledo was recalled to the club. He's currently with the team right now. As you were talking about Torkelson, looks like Torkelson's about to get extra bases here. Yep, double. So, we'll be in. I think I'd like to see Perez make the starting lineup at least a couple of these games. If not, you got 6 games. If you play him in 2, maybe 3, that'd be great. I will say I'm kind of eyeballing Carson Kelly a little bit. It seems like as much as Jake Rogers looks like he's to be the number one, Carson Kelly's doing pretty good with the bat when called upon. So does that open the door for maybe you put one as a catcher and put one as a DH? Because you can field Canna. So I think there's a couple things to ask. We have some good hints there. I'm seeing a trend of lobs left on base. It seems we're consistently leaving north of 4 people on bases in games. So, which means that we're okay getting things started, but we're not getting that next step to get the things going in. Hopefully it's one of those things you hope you can knock out and fix by June 1st instead of August 1st, September 1st, because the sooner you get it fixed in, the sooner you know, can progress to take the steps, especially in a division like this where literally 85 games could win you the fucking thing. I mean, we picked more than that, but even like it's going to be a fight, I think, in that division. So, but we'll see how that kind of goes. So next game for the Tigers after tonight, tomorrow afternoon, while we're all at work, Casey Mize on the mound for that. Wednesday we're off, and then Thursday through Sunday, Twinkies coming into town. So first, second, Carpenter was swing and miss Hyde, and the fourth here in Pittsburgh. So, you got anything else you wanted to close on with period 2 in the Tigers?
No, just that. I mean, for that the lineup, the hitting needs to support that pitching staff as well. Just because your starters, you also have a young starting rotation as well.
Yep. When Jack Flaherty and Kenta Maeda are your veteran guys, it tells you something.
Yep, exactly. So that's all.
Continued shout outs to the Jason Benetti, Simo, Gibby, even and Giant Kane, really enjoying the broadcast to start the year off. Johnny Kane's interview with the Max the Mets fan in Game 2 of the doubleheader on Thursday. If you have not seen it, go find that somewhere because that inspired me to rewatch after the Tigers Mets series to rewatch Once Upon a Time in Queens, which is about the Mets teams, and including the one that won 1986. If you have ESPN Plus, and a baseball fan, I highly recommend checking that out. Part of the 30 for 30 series. But yeah, no, it's I like watching games are fun again. I think, which is it's been a while since I felt that for the Tigers, at least with the broadcasting. So that's my bit on there. We're gonna take a brief break. Period 3. Les Rouge, baby, 4-0. We'll talk about that in a second. Tonight's Detroit City Sportscast. Garrett here, Adam there. We've talked about the wins. We've talked about the Tigers. This Tigers-Pirates game is continuing to get a little bit more painful. What's not painful? Our beloved Les Rouge, Detroit City FC, just had their 4th game of the USL Championship season take place this past Saturday. An earlier tilt against North Carolina. Crowd of over 5,000 saw Les Rouge go to 4-0-0 in the season. A 1-0 win. Reese Williams doing a great little run, ball and play, forcing a deflection, called it an own goal. I thought that was Reese's first ever goal for Les Rouge. Got a little bit hairy in the second half. Elvis Amo, striker, went down. Non-contact in the box, however, it's looking like a groin as opposed to what I thought was ligament damage. Shortly after that, though, by where we were at, by where I was at in the media tent, corner by North Carolina, there was Nolan Yankee of the Detroit News said it best in his tweet, a stampede in the box. Unfortunately, Reese Williams was a victim of that. Stretcher came out, took off, fractured cheekbone. For Reese, which sounds like he's going to need surgery. So the game was a little bit more scrappy. Definitely a 40-something fouls called in that game. Total 8 yellow cards, 4 for each team. Fury from the stands as far as Northern Guard supporters. That had, and even the family side that I hadn't heard in a long time in terms of that feeling. But in the end, 3 points to Les Rouge. Um, I know Adam. I know Danny Dichio in his post-match interview with the club said that happy with the win, not happy with the performance because him and the team know they can do better. Are you feeling that way too, or is it more get the win no matter no matter the cost?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, getting the win is, in the end is great. I definitely see where he's coming from though, because
Right.
um, it wasn't their best game uh, by any stretch of the imagination. They looked sloppy, and things got, and I think that and we were talking to him yesterday too, that North Carolina tried to break them and they didn't break, and
Nope.
that's good. Um, I
And
think that they
City
were
responded
rattled.
also with some physical play
Yeah,
themselves too.
and City was rattled after after Elvis went down and after Reese went down, and something like that is expected. I mean, you have two of your starters go down in a match like that, especially with Reese too. Obviously, a scary situation when you have to bring a stretcher out onto the pitch. Um,
And yeah, and he
that's
rolled off right by me. It was just
yeah.
weird
I mean,
feeling.
something like that is scary, and I'm sure the players were affected by it. But um, I remember watching some of the audio from the club afterwards of Dikio kind of, addressing the team immediately after the win, and just kind of telling them that, hey, you didn't play your best game, but you know what, you still got a win out of it, and that's not something to shake off or dismiss or anything like that. That's something that you can put in your back pocket almost. It seems like that. Yeah, this team is good enough where you can play a bad game and still get a win. I mean, that says a lot about the team itself. Obviously, that's not something that you want to do. Um, it's not something you want to do, make a habit of
You're right.
every weekend. I mean, you play like that against a team like Louisville, you're probably gonna get run off the field. I mean, you're probably gonna lose 3-0 in that one if that's Louisville. But yeah, it was a tense game. It was sloppy at times. It's a game that you wanted to get over as quickly as possible. Uh, hey, they came out with a win. They're 4-0, and you just hope for the best when it comes to Elvis and Reese, that they can get back as soon as they possibly can, because eh, they're going to need them.
What is the? Are you more concerned? Is there two thoughts of this? Are you more concerned with how rough that game got and us being off our rhythm near the end of it to get the win, or is it more of an impressive thing that we won a fourth consecutive game in what seems like yet a different way?
I think that I always want to say that it's impressive that we won in the way that we did, because that's overcoming an adversity.
Right.
That's not, we've seen them go in, we've seen them do the comeback wins, we've seen them, have, great first halves. We've seen them have good second halves already with only 4 games. We're only 4 games in the season here.
Right.
You want to see a team though that's able to overcome adversity. Is the team last year going to be able to overcome what happened this past Saturday? Hell no.
They lose that
I
game.
said it. No, they lose that game because the team last year, I said it last year, I'll say it again this year. The team last year had no heart. They had no heart, and they would have lost. They would have broken. They could have very well taken a lead in the first half in that game, last year's team, but at the instance of adversity, that team last year would have broken. They would
Right.
have broken in half, and they would have been done. This year, it's not like that. You have guys on this team right now with plenty of heart. Guys like, obviously, Maxi looks like a completely different player this year. You have again, Jope looked good last year, and he's carrying that over again this year. Jope looks really, really good this year as well. Backline, Stevie, Michael, Devin all look really, really good. They look rejuvenated after last season. And then
Right.
you get some of these new guys too. James Murphy. What more could you say about James Murphy? His intensity, that guy's heart. James Murphy is the guy that last year's team needed.
Yep.
He's exactly what last year's team needed, and we've got him this year. Ali Coot again. Um, him pairing with Max, he looks really, really good. And yeah, the injuries to Reese and Elvis suck because Elvis has been he's been part of that cohesiveness that we've seen at the beginning of the season up top. And then yeah, Reese, he's looked really, really good since inserting himself into the starting 11. Um,
More attacking role than the first 2 years we've seen him for Les Rouge.
Absolutely. But you know what? You go and you throw in Ben Morris in there. I think ultimately they're going to be fine because Ben Morris isn't put in a position where everything is going to be going through him.
Right.
There's some question marks though now. Victor Bizarra, how is he going to do? Filling in for Elvis because I'm assuming Elvis is going to miss at least a couple of games here.
Yep.
That's my thought. So
And you think with Reese would be out for at least a bit. Maybe. I
yeah,
mean, and at least if he's not going to miss a lot of games, he's going to be wearing a face shield. So it's going to be. My guess is we'll probably get more timetable things later on there. I was.
yeah. I mean, obviously we're not doctors or anything like that, but
My
as far
guess
as like
is.
bro,
My guess is Nolan Bianchi Peace, who seems to come out once a week lately, the last couple of weeks for Detroit News, may have some news on some stuff, or our brother from another mother, Sean Spence, may get some bits for words about shape stuff on there. So, but yeah, I think also too, it's I think it was gritty in a way. Also, 5 subs were used again. Z Matthews coming in for Elvis Mo, covering a lot of ground, not just as a high thing, but also getting involved, look like and trying to do breakouts. Alex Villanueva, who by the way had all 4 of his wisdom teeth pulled during the week. Shout out to that dude for not looking like he missed a beat on Saturday. I didn't think he was going to dress. Matt
again,
Sheldon,
heart, dude, heart.
yeah, Matt Sheldon coming on with an efficient performance. On there, Ben Morris, when called upon, stepped in for Reese, and I felt like there was one more. Dominic Gasso came on. He
Yep,
came out for. They come out for Liar. He come out for James. I think he came out for.
he came in for Lie, I believe.
Yep.
Wait,
Looking. This is what happens. Is a couple days in the game, so much happens, and now is the. You get the fog of the moment that you took it in. It's that shallow. It's that shalala at the end that which it's if you haven't gotten a chance to go, we've said this enough, and of course we're going to say that this is one of our main things that we love and do a fair amount of stuff in, not just content stuff, but Adam involved in supporter stuff now. I used to do a little bit more with supporter stuff now, but more on the media side of supporter stuff. It's something that we love near and
oh,
dearly, but we promote
we
highly much.
Gasso came in for Coop.
Oh yeah, that's right. So and then Sheldon for Bryant, Villanueva for Levis. Yeah, because Ben came in for Reese. Um Open Cup draw happened this last Thursday after we recorded. Troy City hosting an old foe that we love to hate called Michigan Stars Football Club, who are in the dare I say, I don't know how to describe it, Washington Township, Romeo area part, the off M53 expressway when you clearly want to go to like Apple Orchard or for me to go see family somewhere in the Thumb. Um, Michigan Stars just said it best when after the draw. They just tweeted out which eventually they
Uh,
deleted because all of our friends jumped at the chance. Um, Tuesday, April 16th. That's going to be the next game for Detroit City because they actually have a weekend off for the men. April 16th, 7 p.m. Third round of the U.S. Open Cup. For those that are not used to Michigan Stars, Detroit City, under the lights at Keyworth, what should they expect?
Craziness. Shenanigans. Um, I will say this: if you're a soccer fan in the area and you haven't experienced a Detroit City Michigan Stars match, get out to Keyworth next Tuesday and take it in, because it's an experience that you need to experience firsthand yourself. It's not enough to take it in on TV or by word of mouth. It's I said that Tuesday, or not Tuesday, but Saturday was a vicious time in the stands at
Vintage.
Keyworth. Vintage, yes. And that was just against North Carolina, a team that Detroit City has zero history with. They didn't even play them when they were the Railhawks.
We wouldn't have given a
That
thought about them when they were the Railhawks, but we are also
yeah,
down.
that was yeah. Saturday's match against North Carolina was the first time that City has ever played North Carolina. This isn't going to be the first time that they play the Michigan Stars.
Nope.
They have a long history with the Stars that goes back to when they were FC Sparta. Um, so there's a lot of history, a lot of bad blood, um, and it's something. And we have Spence coming in later this week, right?
We are going to
Do you
be
want to kind
doing,
of
yeah, we're going to just a little tease of what to expect for what for people should be looking forward to. We are going to be doing what we call a Detroit City Sports Cast. This is going to be a standalone Make City Make Spence. It is an Open Cup special. To For as much as we're talking about, we're probably not doing it the justice that it needs to do. We got to call Sean Spence in for this. So a special Detroit City Sportscast, Make City, Make Spence, U.S. Open Cup edition, Michigan Stars, or we always will call them Sharda. That will drop, what do you think, Friday?
yeah, probably Friday. Yeah, probably Friday.
So, yeah, it's going to be
I will
wild.
say this. I will say this. I don't want to get too into the Michigan Stars thing, just because again we're recording later on this week with Spence.
Yeah.
Um, the
PASL
Stars
women's
are
stuff, though. We have that, too.
yeah, yeah. The Stars are really kind of bizarro Detroit City. They are almost the complete opposite of what Detroit City is. Um, Not to say that. I mean, it's like I was in our 451 chat the other day, and the Stars played Saturday night.
Right.
They played Saturday night against the Savannah Clovers, and it just seems like the Stars, like Detroit City, is an actual professional side. Like Danny Dicchio, Trevor, they do professional things. Like those are two professional guys who are running the soccer operations portion of Detroit City in a very professional way. Um, Michigan Stars are not like that. Like one of the biggest head scratchers that I saw from this past weekend was the Michigan Stars, because they went out and they signed Justin Merrim to a contract. Local guy, lots of experience, played for the Iraqi national team.
Last played
Long
with the
time,
Charlotte MLS guy. Last played with Charlotte last
yep,
year in MLS.
Charlotte FC from MLS. Big name as far as local guys go, and probably the
Grew up in
biggest
that
name.
area. Yep.
Grew up in that area, and one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name, that the Stars have ever brought on. Didn't dress against the Savannah Clovers. And this is a guy who just showed up to the Stars in their Open Cup match against Minnesota United too. They got back the Golden Boy, Steven Junkai, and they got back Leon Merrick too. None of those guys started. Merrick, Steven were on the bench. They weren't even in the starting 11. And Merrim wasn't even dressed, like I said. I don't know how, given that NISA games have already been postponed this year, that was their season opener this past Saturday. You would think that they would want as many guys playing as they possibly can who are penciled into that starting lineup just to gel, just to, to learn how to play with each other. And they didn't do that. Like, it's just mind boggling that that's the approach they're taking with all of this, especially with, quite frankly, their biggest game of the season coming up this Tuesday, because that is their biggest game of the season. Coming up this Tuesday. And they're not doing anything, it seems like, to get valuable game time experience playing with each other. I don't know. It's just weird. It is very, very weird.
Stars fell behind 2-1 in that game over the weekend in the 84th minute, and then scored in the 93rd and the 95th to a Savannah team that is currently in some turmoil right now. I feel like teams in turmoil and NISA is almost as common as grass being green and water
that's
being
called a
wet.
Tuesday. That's called a Tuesday, Garrett.
I thought it was just an every single day.
Yeah, that's Tuesday, that's Wednesday, that's Thursday, that's Friday.
But as much as and I will say this, if I'm going to say anything about Michigan Stars, at least for as much as we talk about maligness, although I don't know how much of a compliment is it fully be to be a let's say, what's the word, a competent side in NISA these days, but then again, NISA is like cockroaches lately, in that the league still tends to survive, even as we're like, it's done, it can't go on anymore, so not so fast.
Yeah. I will say this: George Junchai he's fun. He's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's fun playing those teams, because he plays the villain role very, very well.
And you think we're done? You think we talked about? Wait till we get Spence up for this. That'll be at the end of this week. As far as we know, that the women have the PASL indoor tournament taking place this week. Got potential issues going on with that. Will they not? With the PSL. Look for, if any news breaks out for that, there'll be a Molding Over City drop on that, as well as the 451 lads are going to be gathering to really get into things. Tunnel Talk will drop sometime later this week. So we got anything else we want to close on Les Rouges so far?
No, I think that's it.
Detroit City tied for first in the Eastern Conference with Louisville City, who went to 4-0, first ever USL on CBS game in the afternoon. So my point is this: CBS, keep doing all the cool coverage, because it's I think it seems like they're really wanting to go in on this partnership with the league, and considering that City is in the running for most national telecasts this year in the league, I think it is very, very good side. So may the good sides continue. Also, kudos to James Murphy for joining us for our post-match interview Saturday. All of that can be found on the channel 451. Was that on the Majors YouTube or 451 YouTube?
Majors YouTube. You can check everything out though at DetroitAtTheMajors.net. Oh, I'm sorry, Detroit@themajorsports.com or 451.themajorsports.com.
So all those are there.
And yeah, but yeah, I just want to say, big shout out to James Murphy for taking the time after the match.
Shout out to also
check that out.
Shout out to also Nick Finn, buddy of ours, who's also doing photography work in the sports thing, for joining us for the recap this past Saturday. So, but yeah, that is it for Les Rouges. As much as we will have a lot to talk about, but that's why there's 451, so they can really fully go into that. We are going to take a break, and then we got quick post-game recap on Lions, Panthers, and Michigan Panthers, of course. And yeah, we'll talk Pistons briefly. Be right back. Welcome everybody back to Detroit City Sportscast tonight. Garret here, Adam there. We've talked 3 periods. Now it's time for quick post-game stuff. We'll start off Detroit Lions news. Josh Reynolds with the Broncos, 2 years, $14 million. That deal. Brock Wright, who had an offer sheet by the 49ers last week. The Lions matched that this week. 3-year deal, $12 million, $6 million guaranteed. And then to go towards, also looks like there's been some interest. Lions have been a potential name for receiver Tyler Boyd. Recently was last with the Bengals for a bit, although it seems like there's a couple of places that Boyd could be going to, Kansas City in particular, especially with some issues that they've been having in their receiving core in the offseason. Michigan Panthers lost yesterday to the Birmingham Stallions. However, Jake Bates in that leg, another 60-yard field goal, this time from 62. I'm trying to remember if we talked Reynolds last week or if Reynolds left after we recorded.
I think we did talk Reynolds last week.
But Reynolds going, Brock staying, potential for Boyd, Jake Bates.
I'm okay with Reynolds leaving. Brock Wright, I mean, I'm happy he's back. I was a little surprised they brought him back, considering the contract that they had to match, the numbers that they had to match. But ultimately, it's good he's coming back. And Jake Bates, again, I mean, if you're an NFL team, if you're the Lions, I mean, the most you can do at this point right now is just check in, start talking to the Panthers, have them on your list of guys that, you're going to want to bring in for a tryout or whatever. You don't want to get too excited about a guy like Jake Bates, though, just because, for one, he's kicking indoors, and it is still UFL football, and I want to say that there's going to be a big difference between kicking in the UFL, and there's going to in comparison to the NFL. So would the Lions be dumb not to check in on him? Yes. Should they rush out, get a contract drafted up and hand it over to him? No, they shouldn't. Continue to watch, continue to keep the Michigan Panthers in your saved numbers there, and just go from there. But he's not a guy that people should be losing their minds over or anything like that.
You gotta talk to him, Lions. That's all I'm saying. If you haven't, talk to him. I'll give him kudos though. Like I said, it's 2 instances on that. If he keeps doing it throughout an entire season, then yeah, it'll be interesting. But I agree with you too. Can he do it outdoors consistently? Bit more people in games, all those type of things, situations, momentum, all those things. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Lions new uniform day. We are 10 day T-minus 10 days. So I'm gonna say I'm so fucking pumped for it. The draft is the 25th to 27th. And what is going to be a fucking crazy downtown Detroit, especially if the
Can
Red
I
Wings.
ask you a question, Garrett? I gotta ask you a question. What are you more excited about, the draft or the new Lions uniforms?
New Lions uniforms, without fucking doubt. Just and Adam knows this. Some of you may know this, especially some of our sicko friends that listen to us go on about things. I'm working on building a collection of jackets for the Detroit sports teams that I have, like starter style satin jacket or starter style jackets, bomber, like those type of things. Got my Detroit City one. I got now 3 Red Wings ones. Got a Tigers one. I'm waiting for this things because I obviously with the new stuff, there's got to be a new Lions jacket to drop, and homeboy's got to get that. So, one that I'm definitely taking my time on waiting for is our Detroit Pistons, who went 0-4 last week. But fear not, the season ends on Sunday. I'm so excited for this. Just because we witnessed all of our pro wrestling diehard fans, especially Adam here, proud WWE fan that he is. The story, for those who reference, the story was closed, complete yesterday for anyone that watched WrestleMania. So will be the story on this Detroit Pistons season, and thank fuck. We'll talk about the season that was when the time comes. We're going to keep it in Yowdy's family with Yowdy's brother, Matt, on that. Someone that I like to get all things Pistons on and kind of be like, what is there to look forward to after this season? So, you got anything on that, or are you just going to be glad when it's done?
I'm just going to be glad it's done. I know Monty Williams, I think I heard something come out this past week that he's not going to take a buyout. He's going to be sticking around. Which, you know what? Ultimately, I think that's again, you don't want to get into the habit. This was the thing that same thing that I was talking about when Red Wings fans were like, "Oh my God, Fedorov's not with Red Army team anymore. So you gotta bring him in. He's got to be the new head coach." No, he doesn't.
Hi, that was me.
The new head coach. Would it be awesome if Eisman brought him into the organization to work within the organization? Yeah, that would be fucking cool. But you don't want to get into the habit of rotating head coaches every other year. You gotta keep the same coach in place as long as you can. There's going to be circumstances out there where you need to get a new coach in there. Monty Williams, it's not like this is his first year as being a head coach and it just turned into disaster. No, Monty Williams has been a head coach in the NBA before this year, and he's been a pretty successful head coach in the NBA prior to this year.
Yep.
He needs at least another year to figure things out. Troy Weaver, on the other hand,
bye.
I would be good with Troy Weaver leaving. And I know somebody's going to say that, oh well, you want to give your general manager a chance to find their own head coach, which I agree with. But if you're going to be bringing in a new GM, what? I'm sorry.
4 seasons with Troy Weaver.
Yeah, I believe so. But all I'm saying is you got to give the guy one more year. You got to give him another year to kind of figure things out. Just because he has he has had success at the NBA level
You're
before
talking
coming to the
Monty for
Pistons
one
this
more
year.
year and not Weaver.
Yes, yes. Because like I said, you don't want to get in the habit of just switching your coaches out, especially when you have a young team. That fucks with their development.
Yep.
You don't want that. So that's it.
Pieces in place, though, if they can get some more NBA talent to go with that. I will make note Malachi Flynn scoring 50 off the bench in a losing effort. So maybe that trade and getting Fontecchio, Fournier, and Flynn, if you can keep a couple of those people, maybe you develop a little bit of core, but you need, obviously, you need NBA players on an NBA roster to survive in this league. I think we were
Something
missing a lot. We were missing a lot of that this year, I feel like.
something I'd love for them to do. I mean, obviously they should be getting a high draft pick this year. Um, but this isn't football. I mean, high draft picks at a point become meaningless if in the NBA.
Right.
Um, I'd love for them to be able to package something up and maybe get some legitimate NBA talent in here with those picks. If they are the first, if they win the lottery and get the first pick overall, I'd be completely happy if they packaged it up and tried to get um, actual NBA talent on this team because that's something that they need. They have obviously a young core: Ivy, Cunningham, Duran.
Right.
If you want to throw in Sasser and Osser or anything like that in there, fine. But I think they do have a core three. Like I said, Duran, Ivy, Cunningham. They
Yep.
need to fill in those pieces, though, those with some legitimate NBA talent, some veteran talent on this team. That's what they need.
And
Um,
a second unit that's not going to get destroyed night in and night out.
exactly. Absolutely.
So we'll see how that goes. I mean, yeah, I know the NBA season's about ending, but to be honest with you, it's been a while since I haven't watched this few of NBA basketball. Probably has to do with how painful this Pistons team has been. Kudos, I will give kudos also to NCAA women's tourney. That was fun to watch. South
Great
Carolina,
tourney. Great final
great.
game too yesterday.
South Carolina going undefeated. Dawn Staley, third national championship as a head coach. Caitlin Clark could be likely now the number one pick in the WNBA. It's great to see all that attention for women's basketball. I really do like also the 4-quarter format in college basketball. I think if the men need to do, if they're not, I feel like, because men still doing 2 quarters, although they've gone with a quicker shot clock, 2 halves. I mean, I love 4 quarters. I mean, high school's 4 quarters, pros are 4 quarters, make college 4 quarters. I think that makes smarter plays decisions. I think that lessens the gap between college ball and pro ball. I think, in my honest opinion, people might tell me to fuck off on that, but that's kind of like my thought on that. So Purdue UConn for the men today. That actually is about to probably start. And if not now, it's going to be starting really soon. I know couple people of ours are Boiler grads on there. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that is it for today. We talked about the one, like I said. So Pistons story being closed. Wayne's story for the season. Will it end next week or will it continue? This week has a lot to do with that. Still plenty.
Still needs to finish being written.
Yep. Tigers. A lot of story left this year, folks. Don't close the book. Don't start a book about how everything's turning back. It's a long season. 162 games of this, man. Just take your time. For those wondering about Detroit City, go check out Adam's tweet earlier today with the emoji. So that was actually pretty good. Although I think some people, or one a dear friend of ours who's also a wrestling fan, was like, "What the fuck?" So yeah, that's it. Adam, I know you talked about ways people could check out some major stuff. How else can they do that, and how else can they check out the stuff you do promote, have on their mind, etc.?
Yeah, check out the majors. Find us on YouTube, youtube.com/majors TV. Check us out on our website, themajorsports.com. Detroit specifically, Detroit at themajorsports.com. Also, make sure you check out Channel 451. We will be recording again this week, taking a look at the PASL. The women, I don't even want to call it the PASL schedule or the playoffs this week, because PASL might not even exist anymore. So I think they're just calling it the Women's Open Cup. So that's going to be happening this weekend. Tunnel Talk, Channel 451 will be covering all of that. We'll be recapping, obviously, everything that happened with North Carolina, looking ahead to the Open Cup, looking ahead to that Women's Open Cup, Indoor Open Cup, this weekend. And so look for that to drop later on this week as well. Channel 451.themajorsports.com or themajors.net/channel 451.
451 DET on Twitter.
Yep. And then you can find me at TMSNX Adam on Twitter.
Find me Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GM Komatz, KOMATZ. So look for a mulleting from the Mountain Tigers stuff to go in probably on this series tomorrow, some point after this 2-game with the Pirates is done. Red Wings stuff. Yeah, I'm probably going to do every game now, just because I think it's that we're there now. It's going to be, each game has an impact on there. Down the field for the Lions stuff and that, stay tuned. I mean, let's be honest. Maybe on the 18th or the 19th once the reveal happens. Pistons, until we get Yachty's brother, until we get Matt on. Make City, Make Spence, Detroit City Sportscast standalone special with Sean Spence dropping end of this week. Open Cup stuff, Charlotte. You're not going to want to miss this. And also for those that are wanting to check out his works, that's at Words About Shapes on his Patreon. So that's it for now. Full on episode next week, maybe not. We might be doing some other, depending on how the Wings do. Maybe we do a Red Wing. Maybe we do a playoff special on the Wings. I don't know. Just it's there's plenty of things to check out in the Detroit sports scene right now, good and bad. Not everything needs an immediate opinion, as we've talked about. But this is some good stuff going on for the moment on there, whether you're whichever one of the teams that you clings to your heart the most, or if you love all of them intensely. It's a ride. Enjoy it as much as you can. Am I missing anything else on that?
Nope, that's it.
Until next time, he's Adam, Garret.